Why has no African nation ever won the World Cup, despite the amount of talent that has originated from Africa? Well, there are a few obvious reasons, such as the financial discrepancies. For most of history, Africa has been behind Europe and North America financially. But that is not the only reason, because while Africa may have always been one of the poorest places on average, South America has also not been dealt a good hand at times. Many African nations might be more behind than most South American nations, but financial discrepancies is not the only reason. If you can afford a ball, which most people can, then you can play football. But that is not all there is to it. It is a lack of training facilities. And in South America, where there might be a financial discrepancies compared to Europe, there are still training facilities. While these training facilities might be being built right now in Africa, as Africa is rapidly modernizing and catching up to Europe and South America, the current generations of footballers and those before it did not grow up in that time where there were better facilities in which to train. That is only something we will see into the future. The second issue is the problem of nationality, and this one is maybe the biggest one, and for this you will have to stick along with me for a long and bumpy ride. Kylian Mbappe, Thuram, they both play for France, but they both have roots outside of France. There are other players as well. Saka has roots outside of England, Gundogan has his roots back to Turkey. Yet they do not play for those countries, and they have perfectly valid reasons not to. They have dual nationalities, some even have 3 nationalities or 4, but that is not the point. The point is, when you have multiple nationalities, you can pick what country to play for, such as Erling Haaland, who plays for Norway, even though he could play for England. This is a problem in football, and not because any racist reason, no. It is a problem because many African nations have to fight for their footballers. Many footballers from African descent go to Europe to become trained and to become world-class players, so that they can enjoy the training facilities that are placed there. However, in this process, they often get naturalized into European nations, which leads to them often deciding to play for that nation's international team. This leads many African nations to fight for a player just to decide to play for their national team in Africa rather than in Europe. This issue is a big one. African nations struggle to get their best players to represent them, because they would rather represent their European nation instead. There is nothing wrong with this. I myself am German and Belgian. I could play for whoever I want if I was good enough to be a professional footballer, which I am not. But if I was, I could pick and choose, and I think that is perfectly fine. But at the same time, there is an issue with this, which maybe is a bit more underlying. What if Europe did not take all this talent away from Africa? Would we have seen an African nation win the World Cup already? What if Kylian Mbappe did not play for France? What if he instead played for his African home nation? Well, that is a difficult one to say, and it is no one who has the right to say what is right or wrong in this issue. But I do think it is one of the reasons why Africa struggles to win World Cups, at least for the time being. But I have a prediction. I believe that in the future, footballers with African roots will try to play for their African teams instead of their European or North American teams. The reason that I believe this is because Africa is rapidly developing and building better training facilities. So these African players who went to Europe might see that their national team is in a better state even without them, and decide to join them after all, so that they can play for an African nation and maybe win the World Cup with them. The third reason is popularity. While football may be the most popular sport in Africa, sports in Africa are not themselves that popular as they are in Europe. It is not to say that African sports are not at all popular, it is simply to say that in Europe there is a lot more popularity behind their sports. Even the second most popular sports in many European nations are more popular than the most popular sports in many African nations. Now, Africans are enjoying an increase in popularity in their sports, however. Why is this? Because Africa is becoming more well developed, which means there is less hard work and there is less troubling time, which means there is more leisure time, which means there is more time to enjoy your sports. The fourth and final reason might be slightly anticlimactic for you, and that is luck. Africa has simply not had their lucky break yet in the World Cup. There are many nations that won trophies with just that little bit of luck to help them out, such as Ivory Coast in the recent African Cup of Nations and Greece in 2004. You don't always need to be the best team to win a competition. You can luck your way into a final, and a final is always just partially decided by luck. Which means that Africa could be in a final and win it in the next World Cup with just a bit of luck, although it is unlikely. But what is not unlikely is that Africa will continue to develop and build better training facilities. That once this happens, more players will be encouraged to play for their African national team rather than their European national team. And as Africa develops, that football will become even more popular, which will be the three things that Africa needs to set up a great squad that just once, needs to get lucky and win the World Cup. And that is my opinions on why Africa has not won the World Cup yet. Of course, there are a lot of smaller issues, but I think that these are the four main ones. There are obviously 1,000 reasons why something happens or it doesn't happen, but we as humans simply can't comprehend everything that happens and why it happens. But these are, in my opinion, again, the four main reasons. So with that said, tell me what you guys think first of all down below. And let me just say that I don't think it will be that long until an African team wins the World Cup. I think 2030 or 2034 is probably when an African team will for the first time win the World Cup. And I don't know what team that will be. And neither do you, let's be honest. But I really think that it's not that far into the future. 2030 and 2034, that's only 6 and 10 years into the future, respectively, as of when I'm recording this video. And maybe in 6 years of the future, if this channel is still thriving, which, 138 subscribers, I won't really call that thriving, but I call it successful for my standards. Maybe my standards are a bit too low. Anyhow, if my channel is still up and I'm still recording content, then I might have to return to this video if an African nation does win the World Cup. But that is it for me today, and thank you for sticking along to the end. If you disagree, agree, tell me down below, and please like and subscribe, always helps out the channel a bunch. We've been having a few bad days on this channel. I saw a few videos that absolutely flopped, but my most recent videos are going up again, and I think it was just YouTube stopped pushing my videos, like impressions. And I did some research about it, and apparently small channels often get this stuff where they get like a week where the channel is really getting a lot of impressions, and then they will have a week where they don't get any impressions, which, that's a bit weird, but if that's true, like, okay, I guess I'll just have to bear with that until I'm a bigger channel. Anyhow, I won't ramble too much. Thank you for sticking along to the end, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.